nothing but a sinking ship. Don't do this to me, Harry. The Ohio State. It's Ohio State. What do you mean, the? 312-988-15.
Hello?
You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, everybody, to a Work It Out Wednesday in Notre Dame land. We are still in purgatory in multiple ways. I just need new football. I need more football. I need new football. You guys tell me if I'm misreading the room. And I'm open to that. Tell me if I'm misreading the room. It just feels like Notre Dame's kind of stuck in neutral here for the time being. Just kind of stuck in neutral. And I don't know if that's fair or not, because there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that are still being put together with what 2025 Notre Dame's going to look like and whatever. And you got off to a late start with all your offseason stuff because you're in the last game of the year, which is a good problem to have, by the way. I'm not complaining. That's a good problem, but it does have downstream consequences when you get to the offseason and you have roles to fill and you're playing musical chairs and people are moving around, whatever. It just feels like we're a little bit in neutral here and it's a little sleepy and I don't like it. I don't like it. And so I want to start seeing some action. I want to start seeing some action. Tex ND. Have we even picked a new head recruiter as of yet? Talk about neutral. You're going down the trail I'm going. You're going down the trail that I'm going. And I just don't know whether I'm overreacting. I don't know whether, I did see Casey Anthony's back on the internet threatening to sue everybody who's accused her of doing what she got accused to do. Caden, oh boy, here we go. Good morning. Good morning, Caden, the man. John, you've been summoned to Caden's courtroom Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. Caden, I don't want to have to do this. I really don't. I'm not going on a show nobody's going to see. No. No. Again, I don't know who you think you are. God, I don't want to do this. I think you're a nice young man trying to find your way in the world of YouTube, man. I genuinely think that. But it just doesn't work when you have 5 followers and then you go to somebody with 12,000 and expect them to come on your show. That's just not how this world works, man. You're skipping 90 steps. You're skipping 90 steps in the process. That's just not how this world works, where you have 6 followers and then you want somebody with 12,000 to go on your show. It's just not going to happen. I'm not. There's no way for me to say that without coming off like a jerk, but it's just like you got to learn the way this goes, man. You're skipping 90 steps of growth, trying to have somebody with 12,000 followers come on your show that has 5. It's not how this world works, man. It's just not how this world works. You got to grow on your own and get to a level. You're trying to take shortcuts. But doing that would be the same as me talking to myself in a mirror. I'm not wasting my own time. I'm trying to help you a little bit, man. You got to grow on your own. I'm not saying that to big time anyone. I'm genuinely trying to give you advice, man. Do you know the balls it takes for you to not even have 10 followers and then expect people with 12,000 to do your stuff? That's just not reality, dude. It ain't reality. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm genuinely trying to help you grow your channel, man. That's just not how it works. It's just not how this world works, man. I guess I don't blame you for swinging up. I've always advised younger YouTubers that are starting. I tell them to swing up Get in the ecosystem. When people ask me, John, I'm 23, I want to build a YouTube, I watch your thing, how do you do it? One of the things I say is swing up, meaning you're growing. Get in the ecosystem of someone in your niche that you look up to in your ecosystem. Get in their world, be friendly with them, whatever, and then see if you can make inroads there with a bigger person and support them or do something that gets on their radar, whatever. Like, I understand that concept. But Caden, you got to understand where I'm coming from. It's a bad look for me to go on a show that has 7 followers. It's not going to happen. It's just not reality, dude. You've got to grow on your own for years to get to a level to do that. You're skipping 90 steps, bro. Quit trying to you're trying to cheat the system here by trying to bait people like Uncle Lou that have 70,000 followers and me with 12 or whatever, and bait us to get you some attention in a redirect or whatever. No, you got to spend years on your own product first. Grow your own product off your own thoughts without Lou, without me. Do it on your own and come back to me later. Jeez. I'm sorry. You're totally unaware of how this works when you're going to try and tell me to come to and then what does that mean? You're stealing my bit? Is that the other part of this? Johnny comes up with Judge Johnny and now you're Judge Caden? Come on, be better than this. Come up with your own stuff. So far, you want to do Caden's courtroom, so you're stealing my bit. And then the only way you come up with content is off other people's content. Me and Lou. Genuine advice. You need to spend a few years building your own brand with your own personality, your own ideas, your own angles. You need to build that for a few years, man. Your own. Nobody else is not leaning on ripping what I say or Lou say. Those are not original ideas. You've got to find a way to come up with your own angle. Send me a warrant or whatever. I ain't showing up. I'm sorry. I'm trying to genuinely give the kid advice. But you're not. There is a unspoken process with YouTube of how you grow, how this stuff goes, how you get in the ecosystem of other people. Like there's just a way this goes in every niche, politics, sports, whatever it is. There's a way YouTube goes. There's social rules kind of how this stuff goes. You got to work on your own thing, man. You got to work on your own thing. I want you to be successful at this if it's a goal of yours, but you've got to put in the work on your own. You cannot lean on me and Lou and just kind of riff off what we do. And then you come up with Caden's courtroom after I come up with Judge Johnny. You got 6 people watching. You're not where you think you are or whatever. It's just rubbing me the wrong way. And I don't even think you mean it. I don't think you know any better. And I'm trying to school you a little bit how this goes. John just argued with the guy with 5 subs. Yeah, crying. Maybe he got what he wanted out of me anyways. But I'm sorry. There's a roadmap to this thing. I've been through it, man, on the good side and the bad side. You need to spend multiple years on your own stuff and then see where we're at in 3 seasons. There's no shortcuts. I figured this out. The only YouTube shortcut I could think of, there's 2 of them. To really blow yourself up out of nowhere, to come out of nowhere with the YouTube channel and blow it up, there's 2 shortcuts. Number 1 is hitting a 1 in a million viral video, whatever it is or whatever, like literally where you have no subs, but something hits the algorithm and the shorts algorithm and you get 1 million views and 50,000 subs off it. If you're really creative or just happen to record something interesting, you could juke the system if you hit something viral, but it's 1 in a million. It's 1 in a million. And the other problem is once you do that, then you have to maintain that interest, and you're not going to hit a grand slam viral every single time. So going viral with something 1 in a million is one way. The other way, and Caden, no offense, you don't have this one going for you, and neither do I. Be a really good looking girl. Be a really good looking girl. I'm just telling you, I've been in the YouTube game a long time. If you want to juke the system and rise quicker than you honestly should, 1 in a million viral, be a cute girl. Those are the only two shortcuts. And Caden, neither me or you got the cute girl thing going, buddy. So you better hit something viral or just spend a lot of years working on your own product. I'm genuinely not trying to be big time you, Caden. Work on yourself. Work on your own angle. You'll end up ahead, man. I wish you luck on your journey, but you are not where you think you are. And you are not following the unspoken social rules of the hierarchy of YouTube, and it's rubbing me the wrong way. I don't know whether you're doing it on purpose or not, but you are. Ooh, Kent. Well, it's the big slow. Mikey Bull says, I think you're cute, John. Yeah, but I'm still not a cute girl. Even if you thought that, I'm still not a cute girl. Do you remember, you guys, callers up coming to you, old and the 845? I didn't get to you the other day and you dropped off. I'm going to bring you up, man. Don't hang up. You were on the line the other day. I couldn't get to you and you dropped off. Let me get to you. And then our all-star caller, I'm going to do that too. And so... Does anybody remember? It was last summer. We did a Saturday night show. Might have even been the summer before. It was one of the late night show, Saturday night after dark or whatever. Somebody had it on the TV at like a family gathering or something. In the chat that the guy sent in was, it was, John, my wife's sister thinks you're cute on the TV. Like she never seen me before, walked in their living room and I was on the TV. And he said, John, my sister's wife really thinks you're cute. And I start feeling good about myself. The next chat the guy puts in is, she's always had a thing for crackhead, skinny, like lunatics or something. Oh, Paige Sporanic. Yeah, Mark. Listen, man, I get the bit. A lot, golf is like primarily middle-aged men or whatever. It's the perfect audience for what Paige presents. But she leans into it real hard. And it's like, dude, are you a golfer or are you not sister's wife? The sister's sister. The wife's sister. And the interesting thing is, like, she totally flamed out trying to play competitive golf. And then this was the pivot. And so, like, I kind of feel bad for Paige that she literally tried to, like, be an LPGA tour golfer. She kind of crumbled under the pressure of all that and kind of unraveled. And it wasn't going to work out. And so this is the pivot. And I understand it. It's just a little bit like, man, it's an example of what I mean, where if you're a cute girl, you could juke the system. There is no male golfer that fails on the PGA Tour and then like does a side thing and then gets 80 million views. Listen, I don't make the rules, you guys. I don't make the rules. The rules of the world have always told you everybody likes a good-looking woman. Women, I'm serious. Just everybody likes a good-looking girl. It's just the way of the world, man. It's just the way of the world. So Paige is doing her pivot, man, but she flamed out hard trying to be a competitive golfer. This is a natural pivot for her, but it just kind of is like, it's just a cheap way to make a living. Like, watch me hit this drive. Whoa, some things are in the way. Come on, man. Like, you gotta, come on, man. It's just, you know what I mean? But like, good for you. You got to work the angle that works. Paige has her looks and Johnny's got his personality. I love this stupid show, man. I love this stupid show. This is just, oh, God, I love you guys. This is hilarious. Oh, Jay Carr, Jesus, you guys. Oh, man. All right. I got to get back on track. John, why don't you become a female anime character? Bro, I've never understood the anime thing. I'm not a nerd. So I don't understand. Like, I've never understood, even as a teenager, I don't understand the anime thing. It's like Asian cartoons. I just don't understand. I don't get the appeal. And then there's a whole niche of like adult content anime, which is cartoons. Like, how big of a dork are you? Go find a real girl. What do you want? How big of a dork are you? And you're not even looking at regular stuff. It's Asian cartoons. Get out of your mom's basement. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Anyways, man, sorry. This is this cartoon anime girls are stacked. Yeah, everybody's stacked. If all you got to do is draw it. What do you mean? You mean somebody's pen is stacked? Their computer system's stacked when they make it. What do you mean? 17 minutes in, and this is where we're at, you guys. You never know what you're going to get on the Always Irish. You never know what you're going to get. We're off to the races here. God bless you, Caden. I want your channel to succeed. I'm trying to give you genuine advice. As always, you can find the program. Oh, when am I going to? Next weekend, I believe I'm going to Florida. I'm going to be there almost 2 full weeks. I need to get away, man. I need to get away. I need to get out of here. I need to get to Florida. I need the warm weather. I need some ocean air. I need that. So I think it's next weekend. I go. Me and my dad are going to go a few days early and hang out. All the girls are coming a few days later. I'll be down there a couple weeks. We're still going to do shows. I'll record them from the patio like always. I'll have all the golfers mad at me trying to putt out, and I'll be yelling. And we may even do some live shows and the Patreon Raw with Goolsby, do it all live and whatever. 845, call me back. So yeah, we're going to get some content going, but I need to get out of here. So I'm going to take a couple weeks and go down to the Kennedy compound in Florida. Yeah, Tex ND says, expect big news to drop then. Historically, every single time I go to Florida, there's big Notre Dame news. So maybe that's when all the recruiting will start to kick in and things will start happening again in the program or whatever. I don't know what it is. But every time I go to Florida, something happens in Notre Dame land. What's going on, Angela? Yeah, the 845 guy keeps calling. He waits on hold for like 2 minutes and then he drops off. He may be at work and may be busy. I don't know. Whatever. Good morning to everybody. Angela, always good to have a Rudiger here. 20 minutes in, let me get through the introduction. We'll go to the all-star caller of the offseason so far, see what's on his mind this morning. As always, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps Yanni Boy out as well. Notifications on that way you don't miss nothing. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish Rat. Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want it. You can get it. The Colin Mans. 312-988-15. You call Johnny. Tell him all you've heard and seen. Notre Dame Fighting Irish brought to you by SI. Read all about it. Patreon.com/. Always. Ooh, that was a juicy one. / Always Irish. He's the former captain. He's the leading tackler. It's Mike Goolsby and myself breaking it all down. Ooh, you guys. Swan dunk. John comes back with the spray tan. Why would I go to Florida where there's actually sun and go there to get a spray tan? I need a spray tan in Illinois where you see the sun 4 days out of the year. What do you get a spray tan in Florida? All you got to do is go outside. You don't need a spray tan in Florida. Oh man, look at this. We're getting goofy today. John has his beach body ready. Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen a biology room skeleton laying out by the ocean? You're about to. Troy, 415, I'm coming to you. God bless you. I love you. Hopefully, the big ND news isn't an ND podcaster getting eaten by a shark on vacation. I'm telling you, Johnny in the ocean, I don't think it's for me, man. I've had enough experiences with the cruise and in the Bahamas and the guy jumping off the cruise and everybody misses their flight. And John's got to do grief counseling to everybody that saw this guy jump off the tent deck and disappear into the wild ocean, ruining my vacation. And then I go on a cruise down in the Atlantic and all that stuff and do whatever, and that happens. Then Johnny boy, I'm trying to go west side. I go to the West Coast. I go to the Pacific, and that's when I did this snorkeling thing, and I almost drowned. Water in my blowhole, waves. I got tiger sharks underneath me. Who needs these problems? This stupid ocean. Who needs these problems with the ocean? I think there's something about it's just me being from dumb Illinois or something. I'm not made for that ocean, man. And you know what else, too? Johnny only goes knee deep in the ocean. You're damn right. After the thing in the Pacific with them sharks and me legitimately thinking I was going to drown, you're darn right. I ain't going anywhere where I can't touch my feet. No way. You're out of your mind. Those, look at this. Leave it to the USC guy. Those are harmless leopard sharks, not tiger sharks. And I am from Illinois. Roger Dodger, I am from Illinois. And when I'm looking down through that crystal clear, beautiful Pacific water, and I see a shark longer than me with spots on it, I don't care whether it's a leopard, a tiger, a lion, a jaguar, I don't care what it is. I'm getting the hell out of there. Are you out of your mind? That was a leopard shark. What part of... I can't imagine a scenario where I hear leopard shark and I start thinking, oh, well, that sounds a lot better. Only two of the best killing machines there's ever been in the world, a leopard and a shark. Well, now I feel a lot better about it, Dodgers. This show has gotten off to a really interesting start. I might have to just cut up this half hour, this 20 minutes and put it on YouTube alone. I might. I just can't with you guys. What do you mean? This guy's telling me alone. Oh, it's only a leopard shark. Relax. Are you out of your mind? It's a hybrid. I'm picturing. When you say leopard shark, I'm literally picturing a shark's body with a leopard's head. Yeah, I feel a lot better now. Give me my floaties and I'll go right into the ocean. I thought I was a gaunt. There was a moment. You guys, there was a moment in the Pacific when I got the water in my blowhole. My little flipper came off my foot. I'm in a black wetsuit, looking like a malnourished baby seal. And I'm flailing away in the Pacific and no one cares. There was a moment where I looked up at that coast and like the beautiful coastline and the blue sky and everything. There was a moment where I was like, dude, I might drown out here. This is not God. There was legitimately a moment where I was like, dude, this might be it. This is not a good situation for somebody like me to be way out here in this damn ocean. My flipper's crooked. I got water in my blowhole. I got a zebra, tiger, leopard, lion, sharks underneath me. I don't need... Johnny ain't made for the ocean, bro. And you know what else, too? Let's get into this. 415. I'm coming to you. God love you for waiting. Here's the other thing. Because I'm from Illinois and I'm right in the middle, I'm so far from these oceans being in Illinois. Here's the other thing that I think we forget as humans. I have a lot of respect for the ocean. Like, because I'm not there often, when I am, it always stands out to me, the power of the ocean. That's always what I think is like, the oceans are a great example to show humans we think we have the levers and the control of so many things on earth and whatever, and what we do. The oceans are a great reminder that there are still some things in the universe that are stronger than us and that are bigger than us and more powerful than us, and that we can't manipulate with a switch of a button or new technology. I always have a fearful respect of the power of the ocean. And sometimes I just don't feel like everybody has that. It's just like, oh, it's the ocean, bro. I am certain there's so many wild species and all sorts of things deep down in the ocean that we haven't found yet, and all these weird animals and crap. But like, the ocean's an amazing thing. But Johnny ain't messing with it, bro. I ain't messing with it. I respect the power of the ocean, especially when that guy jumped off the tent deck on that cruise ship and went bye-bye, Jaws bait style, bro. Gone. I'll never forget it, man. I will never forget that. I mean, they put an announcement on. We got somebody that jumped. We need everybody to go to the nearest balcony and look for him. People were throwing their life jackets over the balcony, hoping this guy would magically grab it. And dude, it was a nightmare, man. Coast Guard's flying around. There's boats going everywhere. What a freaking nightmare. SPF. All right, I need to recalibrate, bro. I need to recalibrate. I truly, truly do. Did the cruise ship jumper stick the landing? No. It was like 11 o'clock at night, so nobody really saw him land, but a lot of people saw him jump where the 10th bar deck was, right over. So it was not ideal. But a lot of people saw him flying down, but after that, never found nothing, man. All night bobbing around. You don't find a guy like that. So they never found him. He was gone. I'll never forget it. We got off that cruise ship, and you get off at the port in Fort Lauderdale, and there was news trucks everywhere wanting to interview people of like, what did you see? What happened? Blah, 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 blah. I couldn't believe there was all those news trucks. It was rough, man. It was rough. And you know what else, too? I don't do, man. There's a lot of this. Whoa, you get in the ocean. Whoa, look at all these waves and everything. Like, I'm never going to be a guy. I'm going to go to Florida. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to charter this little boat and go out there and reel in a marlin or something, bro. I'll be yakking my face off over that boat, chumming up the water. I think you're going to need a bigger boat. I'll be ralphing up my plain cheeseburger lunch out there. Whoa, look at all the waves. Johnny ain't meant for the ocean. I need to blow my nose, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to recalibrate. Relax, John. We're going to recalibrate. We're going to take some phone calls, and we're going to talk about football. Topics of the day are, does Notre Dame have program momentum? If your answer is yes, what is the tangible evidence of that? There's a specific angle I'm going for here. Okay. Does Notre Dame have program momentum? And if your answer is yes, what is the tangible evidence of that moving forward? Secondly, I want to ask the question I was going to ask Monday, but we got too busy and everything took off and I never did it. What is your list of top spring priorities? I need to know. On the Always Irish Show. All right, I'll be right back. Callers, hang with me, and you're going, and you're coming up next. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. Fish don't like hot dogs with only ketchup and saltines, Johnny. That's all I need, baby. Dude, I would do well in prison as far as the food. Just give me a plain hunk of bread and like, I don't know. Oh, you guys, this show's off the rails, baby. Oh boy, we are back. We are back, and we're ready for action. We're ready for action. 740, welcome to the show. 415, you're coming up next. All-star caller of the offseason. What's up, 740?
Hey, John, first time calling her.
Hey, yeah, I see that. You have no call history here. Thanks for joining the program. The number looks like is it an Ohio number? I mean, are we an Ohio State guy, or what's our angle here, new caller?
I am from Columbus, but I am not an Ohio State guy. I'm actually married to a Buckeye.
Oh, God bless you, man. That's like not the easiest thing to do.
No, it was rough. The championship game was rough.
Oh, man. I could imagine that's quite the divided household, my friend.
Absolutely. Hey, but what I was calling about was Chris Ash.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of negativity around him, at least listening to the show. And being from Columbus and talking to a lot of Buckeyes and listening to some reasonable Buckeye personalities, I'm sure Caden the man thought that Ohio State would go out and get Dan Lanning for defensive coordinator when they lost Knowles. But a lot of reasonable Buckeyes were pretty excited about the prospect of Ash being a contender for their job.
Okay, so now that's
dichotomy of seeing Ohio State fans be excited. What's that?
That is an interesting angle. So that's a really interesting angle, actually. So do you believe that the impetus for that comes from his first go around at Ohio State, where he was working with the defense and you had a very successful year, and that's what's in Ohio State fans' minds, was that time where he was at Ohio State and you guys had a great year? Is that where that's coming from?
Yeah, I think that, and I think a lot of Ohio State fans are a little more familiar with his time at Texas because of Tom Herman also being a former Buckeye.
That's a good angle too.
So I think they might have followed that a little bit closer and keeping an eye on those two coaches and seeing that how bad Texas's defense was. It was still bad with Ash, but improved markedly from before he got there. So I heard a lot of talk about that when he was being considered when Knowles left. And honestly, when the news broke about him being the lead contender for Notre Dame, then Knowles left, I believe, the next day from Ohio State. And then there was a delay for him to actually be announced as the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. I honestly thought that he was going to Ohio State.
That's a really interesting angle. And I'm wondering, listen, there's a phrase in football of like, and Goolsby was telling me about it, when, talking to me about this on our Patreon. And he was saying, Johnny, I've learned in my time in football, if you're not that great of a coach, you end up being a scout. Like, should it be a red flag at all that the guy's not even an active coach now and was scouting? Like, is that a red flag, or just like he wanted a less stressful life, so he went to do that and it was intentional? Like, that is an argument I hear of, like, if he's that good of a sought after defensive mind, why is he a scout and not coaching somewhere? Is that a fair critique, or are we being overcritical?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair, but I could look at that as being a red flag or just a victim of circumstance with the jobs that he just happened to take. I think that Freeman, being somebody who's as close as he is with Mike Mickens, if Mike Mickens is the all-star that Freeman said he was, that Golden said he was during the Broyles Award speech, Freeman's not going to pass him over unless he has somebody that he is fully believes is going to take this to the next level, and that is somebody that Mickens is going to grow under. I don't think that he would be willing to lose Mickens if he wasn't sure about Ash.
Yeah, that is one of the debates I've seen going on now of like, is Ash just here to be like a placeholder for a couple years until Freeman feels Mickens is ready? But the danger with that is everybody believes Mickens is a rising star in the defensive coaching ranks. It's like, would you rather risk being early on Mickens or late on Mickens to where he leaves your building and goes somewhere else and it's harder to get him back when he's out of your building? So it's like, would you rather be early on him or late on him? As far as Notre Dame, like, you can't take for granted that he's just going to be waiting in the wings forever at Notre Dame for a shot. That's a delicate dance.
Yeah, and it speaks a lot about his relationship with Freeman that he's still sticking around. Because I mean, we know he was potentially in on the Texas position. And I'm sure he's had other, interests to leave Notre Dame, but, he's sticking it out. And from all reports from Freeman, from Golden, from everybody around the program is that Mickens is a future star. So
yeah, and everybody loves what he's done with the secondary. He's done a really good job evaluating, getting them to play better than their recruiting rankings. Like they have turned what my whole life used to be a huge weakness, Notre Dame secondary, into an actual program strength. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's an interesting dynamic, man. That the Ash thing, I think for Notre Dame fans, there was a comfort and a confidence in Al Golden that you just knew there was a certain standard this defense was going to play out week in to week out. And you got comfortable with that. And then now there's just a little uncertainty. It's on the list of things you got to worry about now in a way that it wouldn't if it was Al Golden again. And that's not saying that it's guaranteed to fail. I'm just saying it's something that's on the list of like things to monitor. And it wouldn't have been before. And I don't think Notre Dame fans are reacting well to having something on the defense side to worry about like this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But hey, John, I appreciate you taking my call, and I'll let you get to the other people. I just wanted to say that about maybe bring a different perspective about Ash.
Hey,
being a Columbus
man. I appreciate that, man. And don't be a stranger. I love first-time callers. I like getting new people in the mix, man. Save the number. Give me a call again, brother. And hang tough there in Columbus land, okay?
I've been hanging tough a long time.
Oh, man. Keep your head up. Keep your head on a swivel around them people, buddy. Hang in there.
Thanks.
See ya. Have a good one. Oh, man. I think Freeman, Andrew's saying Freeman never considered Mickens as the DC. That's fine. That's fine. But maybe other people are. And again, I asked the philosophical and practical question. Would you rather be early or late on a rising star in the coaching business? I don't know the answer to that. So I don't know. Now we're getting all the pushback. Ohio State was never interested in Ash. Why would we? He was not the DC and not IN recruiter. That was Fickle and Kerry Combs. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they didn't hear that. Whatever. Andrew Mickens is very good, but he's never called to play. Freeman wants experience at coordinator. Learned his lesson with Parker. So then, Andrew, the question would be, just how much more experience do you need Mickens to have to get comfortable enough that he's the next DC and slides in there? Is it 2 seasons of the Ash experiment and then we're there? Or like, what is the plan? Because eventually, even if you don't think he's ready, someone's going to take a big swing and a risk on making Mickens their DC. Someone at some point is going to value what he's done enough on the field at Notre Dame and with the recruiting. And specifically the evaluation skills he apparently has to identify traits and lower rated guys, get him in Notre Dame and they play better. Somebody's going to take a big swing on this guy as a rising star. So it's just this big, you're playing with fire there of like, we don't think he's ready. We're waiting for the perfect time. If somebody offers the guy and takes a big risk with him in a swing, what are you going to do? Then he's gone. So I don't know, man. I don't know. 415 all-star caller of the offseason. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, John. How are we doing, bud?
I don't know. This show is wild, man. You never know what you're going to get. And in the offseason, it just, you never know what you're going to get. And it makes me think of you out there in California, me almost drowning with those leopards.
Oh, I have been there. I will say that as far as the ocean goes, it will always win. And that's just one of the ones where if it allows you to come back, then take it as like a thank you very much and understand it.
Man, I'm telling you, I think it's because I'm from Illinois. I genuinely have a really high respect for the ocean. I think about it every time I get down to Florida or whatever. And I just think about how insignificant humans are compared to the ocean. And I have a deep respect for it. And I always keep that in mind.
Well, I definitely, I can understand that. I take my kids to the beach quite a bit because we're not too far from it. And I will, show them how the waves work and how the ocean's power can be, unforgiving, and just get them to understand it, just so that they have that concept of, the ferocity of those waves and that kind of pull that it has, especially on the undertow. And I've worked with people who are very experienced swimmers, and they have told me before the exact same story that you just said, and have been caught. So, it's just one of those ones where respect it, understand it, but have fun with it, and that's about it.
Yeah. It's, I just don't think I'm a ocean kind of guy, man. I've tried a few times and had some close calls. Like, I'll just stand up to my knees in the water, and then I'll just sit on the beach and enjoy the scenery. Like, I'm good. I'm happy to do that. Listen, man, you've been a regular caller here on these morning shows in the off season. I appreciate our conversations greatly. I want to ask you a philosophical and a practical question. How much momentum does Notre Dame have as a program right now coming off of the playoff run? And what does that momentum look like practically to you? I just think this is an interesting thing to think about.
So for me, and this is my own personal belief, is that I believe that we have all the momentum in the world. And this is generally, when you look at teams coming out of the national championship game, some of them will continue to roll, like that of, you watch the Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Georgias over the years, right? Ohio State. And then there's others like a TCU or somebody that makes it there, or an Oregon, but then kind of fizzles out and goes down for a little bit. And Oregon's come back here or there, but they reached the championship game years ago with Mariota and have not, made it back since, from what I can remember. My point is that Notre Dame's a little different. At least I feel that way. And I know I'm biased, but at the same time, I'm looking at it practically in the standpoint that we have all the momentum of coaches wanting to come here, players wanting to come here. The money is coming in. The TV rights are solidified. We don't need to go to a conference. There's just so much that's happening. The only thing that makes me kind of hesitate a little bit on the momentum is the recruiting side, because I would have imagined that a lot more would have signed with us already, in the off season or just right away. And it just doesn't seem like it's been as much.
You're kind of starting to get where I'm headed with this. It's like, yes, I want to say, and I think it was a half-hour Patreon that's going to come out later on today just about this in detail. Like, if you want to say Notre Dame's got program momentum, you made it all the way till the next, the championship game or whatever. When I ask, what does that look like? It's easy to say, well, the fans have some pride. You won some major bowl games. You haven't won in 30 years. You got a little national respect. ESPN was forced to say nice things about Notre Dame for once. Whatever, that's all great. Tangibly, though, if I'm asking about tangible program momentum, does that not mean a bump in recruiting? Is that not the most logical Is that not the most logical through line here? Like, if I'm looking at practical momentum, what does it look like? The number one thing to me is a translation to a bump in recruiting. And you feel like you're in neutral right now, but then people are going to say, but you're in neutral because you don't even have all the recruiting staff in place, and people are, Martin's still getting settled and hiring people. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's a valid reason, but I'm feeling antsy. I need some recruiting. I need some smoke. I need the recruiting to pick up.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's fair enough. And I think when we're looking at this, we're looking at it, you can very easily look at just individual pieces of this puzzle, right? You can look at recruiting, or you can look at coaches, or you can look at transfer players out of the portal. But you have to, I think the best thing to do is to look at it from a complete standpoint of the entire puzzle. How many puzzle pieces are coming together? And a recruiting piece of the puzzle is a big one, but at the same time, it's just one piece of the puzzle. And I do believe that we have more pieces fitting together than we have in ever, really, in my lifetime at this point. You know, I mean, since the Lou Holt errors, like where we're able to put it all together where we can see the success is going to continue to build. So yes, there's still improvement that's being needed to be made, and recruiting is most certainly one of them. But I do believe that we just need to be a little bit more patient with it. Let's get these other pieces of the puzzle situated as far as the coaches and the general managers and the recruiting people and all that kind of stuff, and then allow them to work to get that last piece of the puzzle situated. And then I think we'll see it in the next year or so.
Yeah,
but we have to be patient.
I am open to having a little extra patience with the recruiting dynamic because I understand all these pieces are moving and they're not in place, and that part of the operation is in flux. It's just like Goolsby was talking about, John, there's not even a lot of smoke. Like usually there's a lot of smoke, even whether things happen or not, you're hearing rumors and this and that. There's just, there isn't that much going on. And I just think it would be a shame. It would just be a shame if you went on this playoff run and did not manage to see a big bump in recruiting. I just think that's a big wasted opportunity. And then where does that leave you at that point? And so I don't know, man. It's just causing me a little anxiety. And again, I'm happy that Notre Dame is like a month behind where most teams are with all this stuff because you were in the last game of the year. That's definitely a positive.
Yeah, for sure. And I get that. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because, again, the way we're built right now, we want everything to happen right now. We should be seeing something, even if it was just the smoke, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be the fire. But at the same time, if we're not seeing anything, then I can understand the anxiety with it. For me, I'm just going to have to, be patient with it. That's the way I'm going to get through this. That's the way I'm going to get through this entire offseason.
Yeah.
Is just by being patient, because if we start ramping ourselves up, like, where is it? What is going on? It could be creating more angst than we actually need. And
Yeah,
it's a tough one, especially.
I'm going to tell you this, buddy. If you're talking about Irish angst, you got the right channel, buddy. You got the right phone number, because the day that I'm not worried about something, you better check my pulse, brother. I'm always worried about something seriously, the day that I don't have some existential worry in my head about Notre Dame is the day you better check my blood pressure.
No doubt. Well, what else you got on your mind?
Here's the other thing I tried to get to this Monday, but we were just too busy. I'm wondering what's on people's short list as far as when we get into spring ball and this all cranks up and you're getting these glimpses from the media that record the 15-minute segments, and then everybody overreacts to what they see in these tiny segments because it's all you could get. I'm not blaming people. It's all you could get, and you're going to take what you could get and work with it. So you have that, and then you have blue and gold and the scrimmage they're going to do before blue and gold and all that. What I want to know is, what are a few things on your list of things to look for, or like the reports you would like to hear out of camp that make you feel good about things other than quarterback? Let's take that one off the table, because the number one thing everybody's going to talk about is the quarterback dynamic. So other than that, what are a couple other items that you're looking at from spring and what you want to hear and see to make you feel like you're heading in a right direction? What are a couple other things on your list?
Yeah, I think, we touched on this a little bit on Monday with our call, and that was the continuity within the team. And I did speak about the quarterback, but it was more for me, it was more the coaches and the coordinators and everybody coming together and how that's going to trickle down to the players. So I just want to see these concepts and the schemes and how that's going to work together with this new coaching staff and with the new pieces of the puzzle within the players themselves. So that for me, that's the number one thing, because if we can build that continuity in the locker room and in the weight room and then put it on the field, that is going to, be successful later on. The second biggest thing I would say is, and somebody brought this up, they were wondering, hey, who are the captains going to be this year coming up? Yep. And that made me start thinking about, absolutely. Like, who's going to be the leader of this team on the offensive side, on the defensive side? Who are the guys that we're going to look to for that leadership?
Now, wait. Okay, let me ask this. Oh, baby, check this scenario out. How would you think about this? 404, you're coming up next. How would you think about this? What if Steve Angeli gets voted a team captain, but does not win the starting quarterback job? Has anybody thought about that? Where does that lead you? And then I guess my question is, when do they do the captains? When do they announce that? But it would be very interesting to me. Goolsby always brings up that he heard it bothered some people at Notre Dame that Angeli got so many votes for captain last year when he wasn't even going to be the starter. So what happens if he gets voted a captain? He's not even the starter. That'd be hilarious.
Well, I think that's the reason why they didn't make him the captain.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he wasn't the starter.
It's interesting.
You need the person on the field.
But it's interesting, though. Are you messing with the power of the people and who they respect? Is that the right thing to do? Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, Goolsby, as a former captain, he really dug into the concept of, John, what are you doing there when the will of the people is saying this is our leader in the building, and then the coaches disagree and go another direction? Is that weird? Because, but Mark is saying Freeman has veto power. But are you setting a weird tone if you veto what your own guys value as a leader? Like, I just think that dynamic is very, very interesting. Swan Dong says, interesting name, by the way. Starting QB should always be the captain. And even if they're not on paper, they're automatically a captain. It's the most important individual position in all of sports.
Yeah. All right. So different philosophies depending on, kind of how you see it as who should be captain and where and what position and all that kind of thing. But I would say this, it's such a catch-22. Because if you make Angeli he's not the starting quarterback, but he becomes the captain and he's on the sideline, but that's what the people want. Well, then your leader or your captain is on the sideline, which is not a part of the game, which makes it kind of tough. But then in retrospect, if you look at it from the other side point, if you don't make him the captain, then you're telling the players, hey, what you're saying doesn't really matter. It waters down what their voice is. And so you're sending a mixed message there. So it's a tough position to be in. I think if you have, you also have somebody that has been there and has never left and could have left numerous years in a row. And he's decided that he wants to be a Notre Dame football player. He wants to graduate from Notre Dame. He loves the school. He loves the team. And so therefore, how do you not reward that? So I don't know. I don't know where you go from that as a coaching staff.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. Here's a couple more things that I want to look at. And this is a reoccurring theme. Everybody's going to be looking at the wide receiver room. And is Malachi Fields the real deal transferring in? Can Greathouse maintain the momentum he gained in the postseason? Is this finally going to be the year that, KK Smith, Mitchell Gilbert, and whatever, we actually get more of a consistent high-level play week to week from that group? That is something else everybody's going to be looking at. And here's the tough part with spring when you're looking at those wide receivers. What you tend to see from those short media windows of viewing, you end up seeing the highlights. So you end up seeing a diving one-handed catch or whatever, but like nothing else around it. And like, it's something we're going to look at again. Can this finally be the year where that wide receiver room turns a corner and instead of kind of holding us back, helps the offense be dangerous?
You could have all the skill level in the world, but it will not matter if you don't have the relationship and that kind of timing factor and continuity within the quarterback itself.
Yeah.
And so we can put all these pieces out there and say like, oh, this guy makes one-handed catches or he does this or that. But the reality is that they have got to build the relationship with the quarterback and get the timing down. And that's what's going to, translate into success and W's throughout the season, especially coming into the first 2 games of the season. So I most certainly am looking forward to seeing what the wide receiver room is going to produce. I love hearing the fact that Goolsby was talking about how he's excited about this, this group of guys. And that's a first, coming from him, because yes, he has absolutely, stated what has turned out to be true, which is we just haven't produced the wide receiver room that well at all. So I think it's going to be great to see and to watch, but at the same time, they have got to build that chemistry, with the quarterback. And that is going to be key number one.
Yeah, that's going to be a big thing everybody's going to look at. Here's the other thing, man. Cross and Mills are hard to replace. And I think I'm looking especially at the interior, obviously the health of all those guys that were injured along both lines. You're looking at the health situation with everybody getting back, but specifically defensive line, interior D-line, like whatever. Cross and Mills, man, they are not always the flashiest guys in a lot of ways, but like absolute workhorses that we probably all took for granted, if we're being honest. That's not going to be easy to replace, and it's a big deal. I know you got a transfer guy coming in there. You're going to try and plug and play. But I think that defensive front is going to be something everybody's looking at as well. Those are a couple things on my list.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Anytime you lose something that you get used to seeing out there, you're always going to wonder, well, who's the next man up? Who's filling that void? Who's going to step up and be that guy that we're going to depend on to get the tackles for loss and plug those holes, especially on the defensive line, right? So it is going to be interesting to see, like, out of all these kids, who steps up and who's going to take that role. And it just seems like it's a repetitive thing year in and year out, and especially with the way college football is nowadays, where, it seems like you get 1 or 2 years and then that's it. The 4-year starters and the days of that, it just seem to have come and gone. And so, it's a lot more of, okay, who's next? Okay, who's next? Who's coming to the portal? Who did we recruit? Who's been, stepping up in the weight room? And, and it's going to be like that for every position and moving forward in college football, especially, with the higher level teams like us, where we're going to be producing a lot of these players that are going to be going to the NFL, or if there's not a spot for them, they're transferring out.
Yeah, it's man, there's always some interesting things with Notre Dame to monitor and to get and to worry about, man. Hey, I really appreciate you. Again, you've been the all-star caller of the offseason. And I really appreciate your consistency helping me work through these off-season shows as we venture through the wilderness of no football, man. I appreciate you very much.
No doubt, John. Hey, we're here to help each other out. We're all sitting in purgatory together. So however we can do to get through it, we'll get through it. And then August will be here. Just lickety split, man. We'll get there.
Man, I appreciate you. Have a good day, man. Get those kids off to school and then go hang out with the Tiger Sharks or whatever.
Will do, Johnny boy. Take care.
Have a good one. Thank you, man. I love that guy. He calls almost every show now. It's like he just wants to start his morning. He just wants to start his morning with Always Irish. It's just beautiful. John, okay, couple things here we need to cover. 404, I'm coming to you next. You're going to be next. Text. Come on, man. You guys are funny. All right, I got to cover this real quick. And then 404, you're coming up. John should host a courtroom battle once a month in the off-season to settle the beefs. Cotter versus WPP is case number 1 on the docket. Since I did Judge Johnny, my knockoff of Judge Judy, minus the white doily around my neck, a few people have reached out and a couple of ideas have emerged. The number one idea is having Pat and WPP lay it all out, and I'm kind of hearing the evidence on both sides, and then we make a ruling. Number 2 is some people have suggested we need representation on both sides of an argument to come into Johnny's court, Judge Johnny's court, lay out the evidence live where I'm not writing the notes or anything. People want Pat Cotter on one side and Andrew Gilmore on the other. Let's be honest. Like, of the handful of people that reached out to me, they are saying you need to set this up where Pat and Andrew Gilmore have literally find stuff that be on opposite sides of, and they can both present the evidence, and then we go from there. I love the ideas. I just don't want to sign anybody else up to do more work on my show. That's like my responsibility to do the work. Okay. But it's very interesting to see the response to some of that. And then here's the other thing. Let's go to this. This is something else Pat and I have talked about. John should film a golf match. 404, I'm coming to you. John should film a golf match between me and Pat. We have talked about how to find a way to try and wrap it all together to where you could see the golf, and we're talking Notre Dame in between it, but the golf too. Here's the complicated part. We've thought about this. It'd be good. It'd be gold with our personalities out there doing the golf, talking Notre Dame in between shots, whatever. Here's the problem. How do you record that? Like, how do you, it sounds good in theory, but how do you literally go to a golf course and then we record? Like with my GoPro, the guy not hitting's got to record the other guy. Are you going to even be able to see where the ball lands? Like, it's not like Golf Channel where you have somebody, like the camera can zoom on the ball and you can see exactly where it lands. Yeah, Mikey, we almost need a third party, and I need better technology to be able to record all this and have microphones and have all this stuff to be able to do it right. But we've really thought about doing that. It'd be really entertaining, I'm sure, in a lot of good content. The other thing I want to give Pat credit for is Pat got into golf later in life. I don't think Pat was a golfer till he was like 30 years old. And he shaved his handicap down a lot. Pat, in like 5, 6, 7 years, has gotten way, way better at golf. I'll be honest about my situation. When I decided to quit my job and do Always Irish full time, the golf clubs have been collecting dust since that moment. I could not justify trying to start this business and make enough money to live off of and pay bills and get this where it needs to go. I could not justify 8 hours at a golf course on the weekend and a league night on Wednesday, and I'm out there drinking beers and golfing and all the time and the money that comes with golf. I couldn't justify doing that when I had an obligation to get this business where it needed to be. And so the golf clubs have been collecting dust. Now, could I have played once or twice a month easy? Yeah, I could have done that. That's pointless for me because I'm not going to be sharp. I'm not going to have any feel. I'm not going to have my stroke. I'm just going to get mad. For me with golf, I'm all in or I'm all out. I can't just show up once a month and I'm all rusty and I have no touch and no feel and my short game isn't where I want it and all that. I can't. That's not fun for me. I either need to be all in or all out. So I'm hoping to be able to get back into it now that I'm in a more stable place with all of this. I'm open to get back into it. But me and Pat have talked about that idea. It's a great one. Jay Carr, I want to see John throw a club in the water. 404, I'm coming to you. Here's what I started doing. I started bringing, my dad makes clubs. He'll order different club parts and then make them. Order the grip, order the shaft, order the irons, put them all together. Like whatever. It's just a little hobby. He has a little workshop. And so we have thousands of golf clubs around our house from all different decades from forever. What I would do is I would grab what I told Pat is a break club. It is a club I'm never going to use when we're golfing. And it is an older club, but I have it in the bag. So when I need to break one, I could break one that I don't need. It's the perfect solution. So I'm not breaking one of the expensive, nice clubs that I actually use. I'll hit a bad shot and then I'll pull out the break club and snap that thing over my leg or helicopter it as far as I can. And then I'm able to get my little outburst out and it doesn't cost me a nickel. It's a club I don't care about that's been collecting dust in the basement for 30 years. Who cares? So I came up with the genius concept of the break club. I just told Pat, he said, what's a break club? Dodger, I make sure I'm within the club limit. I make sure I thought of that, Dodger. If we're playing in a league, if we were playing in a league event or a tournament or whatever, I would have to minus a club to add a club to make sure I'm not over the 15 limit and respect that. Even though it's a club I had no intention of ever using in play, I understand that you don't want to do that when you're in a tournament situation. But for like the regular Sunday morning rounds we used to play, I just bring a break club and get it all out of my system. So I need to get back into it. 404, what's going on? Welcome to the show.
John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well. I don't know, man. We're in the middle of the offseason. I'm waiting for the next Notre Dame thing, like we're just in no man's land right now, treading water. Like I tried to do in the ocean.
Hey, reason for my call is I got several things, but the first thing I wanted to talk about was how we finished off with the playoffs last year, not necessarily the Ohio State game, but with all the downtime, I've been watching a lot of these past playoff games, and I watched the, UGA game a week or two ago, and it was amazing how many mistakes we made and still came out on top of that thing. Of course, they didn't play well either.
You know what I think is one of the, in retrospect, now that my emotion and anxiety has calmed down, as we get further removed from the playoff, I think one of the things that is the most impressive to me is how Notre Dame got where they did with so many injuries to key guys in the two deep. I'm talking about key contributors on both sides of the ball. And you had a ton of injuries and you still made it to the last game of the year. The further away from this all we get, the more impressive I find that to be.
Yeah. I also wanted to share a story with you as well, being that I live, maybe 30 minutes from campus there at Georgia. My son is a junior there. So, of course, that game was on a Thursday because they moved it, I believe, and he started school on that Monday. Of course, I get a text from him that morning with a selfie of him in the mirror, and he's got on his green Kelly Notre Dame sweatshirt and his Notre Dame hat. So I called him after school, and I said, well, how'd it go? He said, well, I got the normal ribbing, all in good fun. He said, first day of class, not much going on. He said, I had a couple teachers call me up front in the class to, ask me some questions about why I'm a Notre Dame fan and all this stuff, and said, oh, cool. And then he texted me later that night, and he was looking through some of the school forums. I guess it's like social forums and that kind of stuff that tells you what's going on campus. And he sent me a screenshot, and it said, to the guy wearing the Notre Dame sweatshirt on campus today, I wish you an awful semester, full of awful things. No one loves you.
Jeez. That's good. I like the intensity.
We've been laughing about it ever since. So it is quite comical. But another thing I wanted to mention to you or get your thoughts on is the revenue sharing. We got the the GM, but with the revenue sharing coming or expected to come in like at $20.5 million, I've been reading some of the stuff from the SEC people and say, for instance, being here in Georgia, I do follow them a little bit. And when I read an article early before the season, they did not expect, even though you can give 105 scholarships, they did not expect to give 105. They expected to stay at 85, which I thought was interesting. But then the more I started thinking about it with this revenue sharing, if you give 105 scholarships for football, you've got to pay that revenue sharing to 105 players.
Yeah. Okay. Now wait. Let me make sure.
Increase your.
Let me make sure I understand the exact legality dynamics here. when this kicks in, are you saying that money, not NIL, but this money that you have to pay out, is it equally divided among every scholarship guy on the team to where like the starting quarterback's getting the same amount of the pie as the backup, third string running back? Like, is that part of the money just straight up divided by the amount of scholarships? Or do you get to maneuver that money to where a big player gets more? Or is that not what this is? You get what I'm asking?
My understanding is you get to use that allotment, but it has to go to every scholarship player. So you can give, my understanding, and there are people out there that know far more than I, as long as it's a scholarship player, you give $1, and then the quarterback you can give $2 million.
Yeah. Okay.
But at least in Georgia's case, they're only going to give 76% of that to their football team, and the other 24% will be spread out amongst the other sports. But because they're reducing the number of scholarships, even though they're going to have 105 players on their team when that roster gets cut, they don't have to now add 20 more scholarships to women's sports for Title IX. And also, they do not have to pay that revenue sharing to those other 20 players.
Yeah, man, this is really interesting.
So that makes a GM's job far more difficult, in my opinion. On top of the fact, you're still going to have NIL. So it seems to me that money that these players are going to be getting is only going to be that much more, because they're going to not only get the revenue sharing, but it's not like the NIL deals are going to get smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what are you going to have then? Like, are you going to, I'm envisioning a world where there's like a baseline level of pay for everybody on scholarship at all these teams. So everybody's going to have some cash coming, some good cash coming in. And then on top of that, you're going to have your NIL deals as a kicker for certain guys as needed. Is that the general concept of where we think this is going?
That's my thought. But then the baseline doesn't necessarily mean your higher end players will get more than that baseline, obviously, or could in the revenue sharing side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you thought, what was it, Bryce Underwood, who was, $10 million for 4 years? That's just NIL. What's he going to get on revenue sharing, too?
Yeah, it's it's a changing world. I'm telling you, these guys are going to make some cash, baby. I don't know. I don't know how all this is going to work out. And for Notre Dame's purposes, that's why I'm waiting for this whole GM thing and this new recruiting operation regime to kick in. I would like to start to get a feel of like what may be different or what the approach is going to be. Another question I have is, Martin talked about changing Notre Dame into more of a professional type model with talent acquisition. And again, I asked practically, what's going to change when you're going out of your way to say, we want to make this more of a professional model of talent coming and going, and how we figure out our roster? I don't know how that looks different than how Chad was doing it at Notre Dame before. Like, tangibly, what does that look like, having a more professional player acquisition model? I don't even know technically what that means practically.
My thought would be, and that's one reason why I think once the guy from Texas Tech declined, that they wanted to go in and make this two separate positions, because now, before, if Bowden was carrying the money and he's also the recruiter dude, he's the bad cop and the good cop, so to speak. To where now you got your recruiting coordinator, and it's, okay, well, you need to talk to the GM. If he doesn't think you're worth this, then you know what I mean? To where it puts that buffer in between that recruiting department and then the people that's paying it. That's my thought. Now, whether, again, that's true or not. But speaking of Bowden, I was curious to get your thoughts on his latest comments.
It's on my list of things to talk about. I'm glad you asked. And then we got busy with other things, and then I started yelling for the first half hour. here's what I think. Imagine that I start yelling about something random. Here's what I think. Listen, it is natural when you are excited about your new job that when you go there early on, you want to make the people in that immediate circle like you, and you want to fit in, and you want to gain their credibility and gain their trust and their fanhood. So I totally understand that he's going to say really good things about USC, really good things about Lincoln Riley or whatever, because he's the new guy and he wants people to like him. And he feels like he needs to create a dividing line between Notre Dame and USC and let everybody out there know I'm with you guys now. I totally understand what he's doing. I just think he's overdoing it a little bit. He's overplaying it a little. Nobody's a talent evaluator as good as Lincoln Riley. He's the best I've ever seen. Well, their recruiting hasn't been the best I've seen since he's been in LA. So what gives? So I just think he's overdoing the dramatics a little bit. It's like, buddy, we get it. You're happy to be in LA and out of South, but we understand that. Like, I just feel like he's going way overboard to like fit in and be cool and be accepted. But none of it's surprising. He's at his new job. This is what you do. You got to show you're on their side now. So I don't blame him for it, but he's going a little too hard on it. That's my opinion.
Something else I wanted to ask you too, John, is next year without Riley Leonard, 4th and 1 are we going to go back to where we were 2, 3, 4 years ago? Or is O-line you really going to show it's dominant?
This is
and we're going to be able to get those 4th and 2s.
Okay,
and 1s.
This is really interesting.
Really, those playoffs, man.
Yeah,
he was money on 4th and 1.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting you bring that up. Andrew Gilmore wrote a chat that I highlighted, and it says, I think assuming our offensive line is going to instantly be awesome is wrong. The schedule is front-loaded, and you got guys with only a handful of starts, and you're moving people around position-wise. Here's my thought, and I think Goolsby agrees, and I do defer to him on talent and physical traits and that kind of stuff because that's his lane. This group's going to be awesome, but it's a matter of how long does it take them to get to that level. Like, they are going to be fantastic, and they are big, and they are strong, and they're going to be tough. But are you going to get that version of this line right off the bat in Miami week 1? I don't know. So that's the issue. Eventually, whatever line combination they come up with out of this group and Will Black coming in, they're going to be awesome, but it's just a matter of you don't have the time to take a month to get there when you play Miami week 1, right? And so I think the upside on this group with health is way high for upside, but it's a matter of how long it takes to get there. And it all ties into the quarterback thing. Whoever the new quarterback's going to be, the best thing you could do to help that guy in Miami is have a good offensive line that can move the pile early.
Oh, absolutely there. We've seen great offensive lines at Notre Dame that can't get 4th and 1.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point about, you know what else? I talked about things that I think I took for granted in the year, and then like now I'm appreciating more. Here's something else. I think it's easy to take for granted how much tough, dirty, important work Leonard did with his legs. I think you just start to get used to it over time of like him getting just enough for a first down to keep a drive moving, or it's 3rd and long and the pass play blows up because nobody gets open and he runs it for a first down, lowers his shoulder. I think we took for granted how physical and good Riley Leonard was with his legs, and you're not going to have that from whoever the next quarterback is. I don't think it's quite going to be not dynamic, but like as tough with his legs as Leonard was.
I would agree with that. And then, so what's your thoughts on Miami? I mean, here, my initial thought is, well, Carson Beck's not going to have a spring. He's not going to have a summer.
And he doesn't even have a car. Yeah, right now.
Well, no, he doesn't have 2 cars.
Yeah, he does.
Dude,
it's just I love it, man. It's the funniest thing to me. It's the funniest thing to me of like, we're going to get this guy to come here and be our starting quarterback at Miami. And it's like, welcome to town, buddy. We're robbing your shit. I love it, man. It just cracks me up. The whole concept of like, welcome to town, buddy. You're our new quarterback. And they're stealing from the guy.
I mean, do you think he's going to be ready to go for week 1?
I don't know. It's a good question. It could be on the line. A lot of people are talking about it's going to be borderline whether he'll be ready or not. I don't know. And then I don't know what to expect from Miami overall either, man. They're such a weird team to gauge. They were one of the hot teams. Everybody was pumping up for the playoff all last year. And then at the end of the year, the whole bottom fell out and they became old Miami. I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, who knows? And then one last thing I wanted to get, because I know everybody talks about star recruiting and that kind of stuff. What's more important, class impact or 5 stars?
Well, now this is interesting. What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean? Define for me class impact. Yeah, define for me what you mean by class impact.
Filling the needs on your roster with high talented, like a Leonard Moore, with high talented people, not necessarily. And whenever Texas A&M had this great class, supposedly the best class forever, and
toxic. That
my understanding, they had 5 or 6 5-star defensive linemen. They're never all 5 or 6 of them are going to play.
I believe. Okay, so, listen, with A&M, here's my belief. A&M tried a cheat code, and the cheat code was we're going to pay all the money that we possibly can to get all these 5-star D linemen in here, and that's going to be, we're going to shortcut our way to victory by doing that or whatever. And it totally just caved in on them because it was a shortcut, and then you have all those egos, you have all those personalities, you have all that money, and it just did not. They tried to like kind of do a shortcut there, and it was good to see a blow up in Jimbo's face. I don't think Notre Dame's going to be in that position, to allow themselves to try and buy their way to it the way that they did. But when you say like Leonard Moore and all this, that's retrospective, right? Like it's easy to look at that impact when a 3-star plays like a 5-star. Now you know that. It's a lot harder to gauge what that's going to be like when a recruiting class is signed and Leonard Moore's a 3-star, but you haven't seen him play yet. Like, I just think that's interesting. Like, retrospectively, it's a lot easier to say, yeah, give me that guy. But, like, only because you know it worked out.
Well, that's true. I guess what I'm trying to emphasize, in my opinion, I think the coaches have a far more better eye for talent than all of these recruiting agencies. Maybe that's the better.
Well, I believe that I don't really think that's even in doubt. I think and you know what else too, man? There are a lot of games played in the recruiting business as far as guys are rated 2,000 in the country and then they get an offer and a visit from Alabama and they're in the top 100 the next week. Like there is evidence of these recruiting sites playing with guys' rankings based on the traffic it's going to generate with certain fan base websites or whatever. I'm not saying they all do that, but there's some things that is the only way you can explain guys' drops and rises in these recruiting rankings is them juking the system of what's going to benefit their click-through rate and all that stuff. There is a part of that. That is, I believe that.
And I've heard what WPP, of course, it's Lent, so he may not be listening. Talking about how we won't pay for 5 stars, but I think there is probably more to the actual culture than just paying somebody money.
That's true. That's true.
Let's just say you bring Will Black in, and he's making more money than Wagner. Is that fair, or is that going to kill a locker room?
Yep. Hey, these are all of the dynamics that are a new age discussion and a new age consideration. And Goolsby and I talked about that as a former player. I wanted to know what he would think of this. Like maybe being in a locker room where, everybody's at a different pay scale level. And is that fair or not? Like, does it turn into egos and hostilities and like jealousy? Or is it more like, hey man, get your money. Like we're all on the set, get your money while you can get it. I'm not mad at you. You get what you can get. I'm going to get what I can get. And everybody wants everybody to win and load up as much as they can. I don't know those dynamics. I will say this though. I believe Notre Dame may be somewhat insulated from this kind of problem because I do think Notre Dame's culture is very strong. The pillars of the culture are very strong. And Kelly left it pretty strong. There was no electricity in the program when he left, no energy at all, but the culture was strong. Freeman's inherited that and been a good caretaker of it. So I do think we're insulated somewhat from some of those problems. Just because of the healthy culture and dynamic in Notre Dame. I think that will help alleviate some of those worries.
How much do you think Notre Dame has an advantage in recruiting or retaining solely because of the school? And what I mean by that is if you're talking to a kid and he's going to get whatever X number of dollars from Michigan or Alabama or whatever, but they don't have the academic credentials that Notre Dame does. So if you've got a kid that's been there either A, out of high school, if it's relatively the same, obviously it's harder at Notre Dame. But to me, that seems like an advantage. Of course, being a Notre Dame fan, just the name is an advantage. But then someone that's already invested 2 years at the school, and, they're getting contacts coming in, we'll pay you this much, that much. How much do you think it's an advantage that the academics of the school has?
Yeah, I think the way Notre Dame's set up, I think it lends itself to certain advantages in some ways and then disadvantages in others. It is choosing Notre Dame is a very interesting choice. You gotta think different in your brain and be open to different things to like be interested in the Notre Dame challenge and everything unique that goes into it. And I do think that kind of protects Notre Dame in a way. Like you don't have all of the 35 guys transferring in and out and everything. Like there is a little bit more of an investment in being in Notre Dame for more reasons than just football. And I do feel like that insulates Notre Dame from some of the problems with like a million people coming and going. But in other ways, it's hard to recruit to Notre Dame when you're the outlier and you're different and it's cold and the school is small and you got to go to school and, and it's a religious thing. Like there's a lot that goes into it. And so there's positives and negatives with Notre Dame.
Yeah, I got you. Anything else, John, that you got to share?
Hey, I'm telling you, man, this was a good call. Thank you. The last time we talked, it looks like it was right before the Georgia game. And I'm glad you're jumping back in, man.
Well, John, I appreciate the call. I appreciate you taking the time. And hope you have a great day.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. You take care down there. And don't be a stranger. Call again. Really appreciate you. Thanks. Good callers today. Let me get back to a couple of these chats that I highlighted, and then we'll get out of here. Happy belated birthday to Newt. Indeed, for sure. This is a good one, J Carr. It's Ash Wednesday. That's a t-shirt. That's a good one. Nikki Dean, priority list. See who the best QB is. Find out how good the wide receivers are. Get the D-line sorted out and keep the O-line healthy. Nick, that is incredibly close to mirroring my list. I think that's pretty good. One last thing. I don't want to see Love get one carry in the blue and go get. Yeah, if you kept him out, I'm not going to complain. Totally understand it. Again, with the Chad thing, I get what he's doing. You've got to show that you're on the right side now. And he's overdoing it, leaving Notre Dame and showing that he's an LA person now. Whatever, bro. I get it. relax, tone it down a little bit, hang 10, catch a wave, go hang out with some Hollywood freaks, whatever you want to do, man. He's just overdoing the whole feeling like he's got to show that he's on this side now. I just feel like he's overdoing it a little bit. Very much overdoing it. Sly. WPP has better willpower than me. No way I give up John for Lent. Yeah, I know. It's like, God bless WPP for trying to be a good Catholic and do the whole Lent thing. But you're hurting your boy over here, man. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Phil, what's going on, Phil? Look at this, Jake. Indie Bookstore has 70% off sale. Does that count as momentum? We can afford to buy stuff now. Yeah. You know what I always remember, you guys? I might have told this story before. In 2012, when we made it to the championship game, I didn't go. Me and Pat were in Mexico for a wedding, and then we flew back to Illinois to cut the vacation short, flew back to Illinois to be able to watch the game with our families, but we didn't go to the game. We get pounded 748-0 by Alabama. And then like a week and a half later, I get this weird package in the mail, and they were selling these pre-made championship game packages with t-shirt and a hat and a chain and a lanyard and all this stuff and a little mini football. Somehow they were selling those at the game or whatever. And one of my buddies that went there thought to order one for me and ship it home before the game. He ordered it like the day before the game. And then I get all this crap a week later after we lose 400-0, threw it all in the garbage. Thanks for the care package. Anyways, so that happened. Change my mind. Minchie for QB1. I'm sticking with it. You and Mike Goolsby and Mike Denbrock are all on the same page, SPF. That's what Goolsby wants. As far as that defensive line, as far as that defensive front, Sevillano is a guy, again, I defer on body type and physical trait stuff to Goolsby. He loves Sevillano's feet. And he says, I could see in that guy, he's nimble enough on his feet that there's some potential here that he likes. You know what else Goolsby talks about with offensive and defensive linemen? This is so interesting to me how his brain works. He always talks about how a guy falls and gets up. Like whether you get clipped, like not like a clip, like a rocket clip that isn't, but like if you just get chipped or you get hit and you fall, Goolsby always talks about, look at how a guy falls and gets up after he falls, and you'll be able to tell how athletic and smooth he really is. And I just think that's interesting, and it's always in my mind. Sometimes Goolsby will be like, John, I didn't like the way that guy fell, and I didn't like the way he got up. And other times he'll go, look at this guy fall and roll right out of it and pop right up in half a second. That's a nimble guy. Like, so I just think that's interesting. But it always sticks out to me that Goolsby's like, okay, watch Sevillano. There's something there with the footwork that I think we can work with here. So I don't know. All right, guys, that's going to be it. Thanks for being here. We went off the rails the first half hour. I might have to rip that one up and just put it on YouTube as a video and just write the show went off the rails. I mean, it's the off season. And so thanks for being here. Thanks for the calls. Thanks for the chats. Thanks for all of it. We'll see you later.